Well, an interesting day. It's the 17th of May, and we've got freeze warnings up. Why not? And frost advisories, too. The smoky skies from the Great Lakes have now moved back into the northeast, and we have some thunderstorms scattered around the deep south. And we've got other things, too, which we will talk about tonight. Where else could you find so much information? But right here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, in Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island. If you're a professional landscaper or a do-it-yourselfer, they've got everything that you need to make your home or business facility look terrific. 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town, and the website is
Omni True Value. Excuse me. I'm going to say that again. OmniTrueValue.com.
And Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The referral link is on the chat board. It's pinned to the top. It's also on the descriptor to this live show, or if you're watching it later, it would be just a video. And use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show. You get what, Joe? You tell me.
10 mints and one. No, 10% off.
That's right, 10% off. Not
Yes.
10 wins, but 10% off.
I was
sorry. This was a weird day. I got my. If you think back, I guess now it's a couple of months when I broke my dongle, and they sent me the new dongle, but it takes me a while to get motivated to the point when I've got to fix something technical and I'm afraid to do it. So finally today I got enough guts up to reset my headset. So I hope the sound is okay, that it's sounds loud enough and clear enough, and I'm not popping my P's like I usually do. But of course I had to have a scary moment. So I'm trying to figure out how to pair the dongle to the headset. You got to there's a reset button and all the rest of it. So I was on a website, and then all of a sudden, Joe, I got one of those things. I haven't had this happen to me in ages. I mean, really ages and ages. But you ever get one of those things that comes up and says that your computer has been infected by a virus and you need to call this number in order to get it all, get it clean?
right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, they have now added a very lovely feature to that after a few seconds, if you try to click out of it, your screen goes completely black, and you think that your computer is shut off. So I go to turn my computer on, and nothing is coming up because it didn't occur to me that it was just a black screen. So by hitting the button thinking I'm turning it on, I was actually turning my computer off. So nothing's happening. I'm thinking I had turned it on. It's not coming up. So I had a one of those brief moments where you just go into the bathroom and you weep for a little while. And then I came back out and I pushed the button on my computer, and then it just came up normally. The thing said that we're disabling your computer, and it made it look like it was a Microsoft thing, so that you would call. But I'm already well past that point. I already knew that it was all BS. But anyway, like I said, I just hope everything sounds okay.
Well, it does. And what happened to you happened to me. Has happened to me more than a few times. And my son, since I have a PC, not a Mac, just simply said if that ever pops up, if they ever pop up with a message saying your computer has been infected or whatever like that, just go with Control-Alt-Delete and move forward from there. And whatever it is, you can get rid of it that way or whatever. But it is annoying from time to time, isn't it?
Yes, and we started a few minutes late, folks, because I thought I had all the settings back to the headset, and anyway, you get the idea. All right, So yes, the smoke is back. It's in fact I've got the satellite loop. I might as well bring it up because you could see it. I saved this before updating it late this evening for the show, and it's been a lot. A lot of this smoke has been sitting over the Great Lakes all day long, and now as we move into the afternoon and evening hours, it's just come. You can see that plume
Like a
there.
wall.
Yeah.
Like a wall. It just came in from, I mean, we had beautiful, pristine blue skies here in the tri-state area for much of the day. And then all right about, I guess it was 5 or 6 o'clock, you could see it on the satellite picture, Joe, like a solid wall coming in from the west. And as I was having dinner this evening, I'm looking out the window toward the sunset, and I'm saying, my God, it's back. The sun looks now like a red ball in the sky. And sure enough, that smoke emanating from the western great. I mean, we can't get a break from this stuff.
No,
Today
and look, I just went to the wider U.S. view. I'll highlight it. It's so everybody knows what we're talking about here. So this milky white that you see goes all the way back into Minnesota and South Dakota. This is a lot thicker though than especially over the Great Lakes. It's a lot thicker than what it's been lately.
right.
I'm starting to wonder in areas where it's supposed to be mostly clear tonight whether this might help, might nudge the temperatures up, keep them from going off the wall.
Well, yeah, actually, you're absolutely right. I mean, we don't have. I mean, without this haze, we would have had. And in fact, in my Facebook page forecast that I put up most every day, I said tonight, clear, starry skies. Well, guess what? That's not going to be the case now anymore with the haze coming in. If we had clear, starry skies and with the winds dropping off to dead calm later tonight, we would have temperatures that could very well drop, to, record levels. But the haze may actually serve, albeit, it is thin, but it may be just enough to hold the temperatures up tonight to keep us from breaking any records. It's just incredible. I mean, I really I can't believe how quickly the upper level circulation, the upper level low, as you can see, was circulating for much of the day, winds out of a northerly direction more than a northwest direction. But now, I guess, as the system begins to progress away to the east, the winds have turned more out of the northwest and have opened the door for all of that muts to come rolling in, and it has, and looks like it's going to be here for a while.
Yeah, the upper flow, it's a slight bend. It was northwest for much of the day till about 1 or 2 o'clock this afternoon, and as you said, and I got the map showing it up on the screen. The upper trough, the axis of that upper trough moved off over to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, starts to pull out. And yeah, then the wind bent around a little bit, more like 305 or 310 degrees up at 18,000 feet, and yeah, uh, the haze that's been over the Great Lakes has now spread back into the northeastern part of the United States. Go figure.
Go figure. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and we're not even really into the wildfire season yet. I'm wondering now whether or not this is going to become a thing that we're going to have to live with for much of the spring and summertime. These hazy skies. As I said, you get a northwest flow in the summertime. You say, "Oh, that's great. We've got the blue sky, the transparent sky, the low humidity." Well, we still have the low humidity, and it's comfortable. Certainly, it was quite cool out there today. But as far as the nice deep blue sky is concerned, not if we keep getting this stuff, shifting in from Western Canada.
Well, we do have widespread freeze warnings up across much of the interior Northeast. They added central and eastern Long Island to the mix during the late afternoon and evening forecast. They're under it. And all of New England, except for some places up in northern Maine, all under freeze warnings here. We've got frost advisories up for southeastern Pennsylvania away from Philadelphia, for example, but interior southeastern Pennsylvania and into south central Pennsylvania, down into central and western Maryland, and even into parts of Virginia, northern Virginia, under a frost advisory. So protect your tender vegetation, folks.
Yeah, I think one thing that the Weather Service with this freeze warning that they have for many of the for areas north of Interstate 287 in the lower Hudson Valley, the freeze warning has been posted. That includes my area as well, but they're warning people, about your pipes and about
Stop. No.
now how long, if we do drop to freezing, how possibly long can it be? Maybe an hour? So, I mean, you have to worry about your pipes when the temperatures are going into a hard freeze, like when it's going down to like 27 or 28 degrees for several hours or more.
You got to worry. Well, all right, look, if you got your some people may have had their sprinklers turned on. Okay,
right.
That part of it. But the house pipes, no. You don't have to worry about your house pipes until the temperatures get down below 10.
No, but I don't know if they're talking about the house. Like, for example, here, I have to turn off my the water for the outside spigots, the outside faucets, and we do that when it gets cold. But I looked at this, I said, "You got to be kidding me! It might touch freezing for all of an hour tomorrow morning, but that's certainly not worth having to be concerned about, your pipes bursting or your pipes freezing up or whatever." But you know what it is? It's just simply a template. They must have a template where whenever they go into a freeze situation, a freeze warning, they automatically pull it out and just put it up and post it without making any
right. And this is right.
And this is one of those occasions.
Freeze warning, and then the boxes: pipes, check; plants, check; swimming pool, check; that kind of thing. A lot of 20s on the forecast low map, though, for Thursday morning across northern Pennsylvania, southern New York, southeastern New York. They've got it at they've got Poughkeepsie at 30. I think that's Poughkeepsie at 34, and whatever that spot is that's on the New Jersey-New York state line in Orange County, they have 33. But you can see the 28 over eastern Long Island, so that's West Hampton. This is the kind of night where the Pine Barrens are going to, if again, assuming that haze doesn't get in the way, clear skies, light winds or calm winds. So they've got 20s for those areas on Long Island, and also for the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. Probably wouldn't be a surprise if it got down to levels low enough to produce a frost. But you know what? It's a one-night thing. We don't have to worry about it after tonight because tomorrow the winds are going to go around to southeast or south-southeast or even south. And that should it'll keep the temperatures from flying tomorrow. We'll be in the 60s. Maybe some warm spots will get up close to 70. We should have sunshine, though, and at least the marine layer is not an issue here. But again, this is a one-night thing with this cold.
Right. This is not something that's going to be protracted or prolonged. Even though tomorrow night, for example, by the standards of what we normally would see, normal low temperature in the lower Hudson Valley at this particular time of the year should be right around 50 or 51. Even tomorrow night, it's going to be pretty chilly, though not anywhere near the frigidity of what we're going to see in some sections tonight. Whereas tonight, I had, Joe, for the places, the rural spots well up, I'm talking about like in Sullivan County or maybe parts of Dutchess County. I could see like upper 20s, 28, 29. Tomorrow night, the lowest temperature will get probably no lower than 41 or 42. Most areas will be in the upper 40s to around 50, which is close to normal. And then we'll see it jump back up into the 50s, low to mid 50s when we get to Friday night.
Yes, Chuck Cardillo, I was avoiding trying to say what you said. Okay? It's a one-night stand. That's what he said. That's what Chuck said. I thought about saying that, and I thought, no, I better not. All right, but there it is on the satellite. Meanwhile, in the southeast, we've got some thunderstorms. I don't have them. I'm up in northern Georgia, so I'm sort of out of them right now. But there's some rather they were earlier. They were stronger earlier, south of Atlanta, and moving into parts of southern Georgia and coastal North Carolina. And we'll go to the wide satellite view. Let me get rid of the red thing I put up. And why don't I also since it's working again, let's go to the lightning flash density so we can see where the thunderstorms are tonight. And they're pretty much concentrated in the deep south. There's no widespread severe weather risk here. These are more patches of showers and thunderstorms where some isolated cells could wind up approaching severe levels. But for the most part, the Storm Prediction Center is not going hog wild over this. We also have some thunderstorms scattered around the Rockies and in the southwest. Almost looks like a satellite loop out there out in August when you get that subtropical moisture comes up with the monsoon low, rather than seeing it now in May.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but incidentally, I don't mean to, interrupt the general flow of information that we've been providing since the show began. Do you have any intentions of playing that thing that I showed you on air tonight, or
I would
not?
like to figure out how I can route this into the audio so that everybody could hear it. So I didn't get a chance to figure it out yet. So can we wait till we figure it out?
Sure.
Right.
I think a lot of people would be interested in hearing young Joe Cioffi.
Oh God, that New York accent was worse than what I remembered. it was pretty bad, but
you got the message, as I said in one of my messages. You certainly got the message across with that announcement that you made. That was heard, I'm sure, wide. I mean, maybe it was a Sunday afternoon. Maybe not too many people heard it initially, but those that did hear it immediately got on the telephone and said, "You got to hear this. You got to hear what's going on. What's going to happen to us?"
Yes. Well, let's run through the weather, and then if you can figure out something to share, so this way while you're doing that, maybe I can play around with the audio on my end and see if we can get this thing to work.
Well, the way I might be able to do it by using my my new microphone and just pointing the microphone to my speaker.
Or if you want to do it, we could do it. Let's run through the weather and then we can go ahead and do it.
We can experiment.
Okay. So, and then I'll just just blush. All right, so here's the watches and warnings. You see the light blues or frost advisories, which, by the way, also go across much of northern Ohio and most of the lower peninsula of Michigan. We've got the darker purple, I guess, whatever that color is, dark blue, where we've got the freeze warnings up. Now, they are not up, as I believe, they are not up for the Connecticut River Valley. I don't know. They just didn't put them up unless they changed it. But when I checked earlier, let me just give this a quick refresh, as they still have some red flag warnings up in those counties, I guess, until after sunset, and also for southern New Jersey as well. You can see the freeze warnings extending up to Vermont, New Hampshire, and into southern Maine. Around the rest of the country, really not a whole lot going on. A couple of counties in Utah with some flash flood watches up. The same along the Nevada, California border on the Sierra Nevadas, a few counties there also with flash flood issues. And I'm going to see if this is fog that they have up in Montana and not air quality issues. So let's just take a look. That is fog. Okay, so they've got some dense fog advisories up for much of the state of Montana and into northeastern Washington state. So here's the radar tonight. A lot of speckling up in Maine. That's because they're closer to the upper trough, and they've actually diminished from earlier. Otherwise, the radars are quiet from there southward until you get into South Carolina, and you see how you got these patches of heavy rains and the occasional thunderstorm or two. You get the occasional box that's warning for severe weather, one in southeastern Louisiana to the southeast of New Orleans. A little flash flood warning up there in parts of in in a county in southeastern Mississippi. And that really is just about it. A couple of special marine warnings along the central east coast of Florida. And that's all. And then out in the west, also patches of showers and thunderstorms and the occasional severe cell that you see there popped up in Nebraska. And that extends all the way back out into Idaho and eastern Washington. But no widespread severe weather. You can see what the Storm Prediction Center has marginal risk from southeast Mississippi to into South Carolina, mainly central and southern Georgia, southern Alabama. Much of that's played already. There's still stuff going on, but also marginal risk from West Texas all the way up through the Western Plains into the Dakotas. That is for tonight into tomorrow morning. For tomorrow dayside into tomorrow night, marginal risk in West Texas and western Oklahoma, marginal risk from northeastern Iowa through Wisconsin, nothing to worry about in the northeast and well south into the mid-Atlantic states for thunderstorms. And then come, this is for Friday into Saturday, we have a marginal to slight risk covering much of Texas, northwest Louisiana, much of Arkansas, into southernmost Missouri, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi, but still nothing from Maine down the coastal plain to Virginia and into the southern Appalachians into Georgia. Rainfall. Now we do have a cold front coming and a wave that's moving up from off the Carolina coast. It's going to wobble northeastward. WPC, this is sort of a battle, I guess, between the more robust European with rainfall amounts and there's about a 6-hour difference between the European and the GFS. The GFS is about 6 hours faster. It would sort of imply, Joe, that Saturday afternoon might see improving weather conditions west of New York City, but the European says it's about 6 hours slower and would say that that improvement won't come until later Saturday night. So I guess you could split the difference between the two at this point. I don't know what your thinking is on that.
Well, I've my son. There's going to be here in Putnam Valley kind of a flea market, but not just a flea market, but also an event that's going to include, a band and other things going on. So Saturday will be a big day at the town park here in Putnam Valley. But the problem, of course, is the weather. It's not going to be all that much fun if it rains. I told him, looking at the short-term and mid-term models coming up for this weekend, I said, well, maybe a couple of showers around early in the day, a better chance in the afternoon, and in fact, there might even be some steadier rains toward the end of the day on Saturday, and with the front moving through into Saturday night, and hopefully things will get better on Sunday. In fact, it will likely be better, much better on Sunday. But the timing is going to be the issue, as you just pointed out, Joe, as to which model you're going to believe, the GFS or the European, as to exactly what we're going to see. But it would figure. We've had beautiful weather so far through this week, and it looks like the one clinker, if you will be for those who have made plans out of doors on Saturday, one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, WPC's got 1.5 inches plus for eastern Long Island and southeastern Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeastern Massachusetts, and it's got you go from 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch, basically by paying tolls on overpriced tolls on bridges in the New York City area, because on the Jersey side it's just 1/4 inch, and then once you get looks like into Nassau counties where the western edge of 3/4 inch is, because that's going to be conditioned on whether that upper low, that little low that wobbles up the coast while the cold front is swinging to the east, and how far west the rain from that is going to be. So since I got the upper air up, we might as well roll through it. And we're sort of in a ridge position here for Thursday into Friday. But you see this trough Friday afternoon swinging through the Great Lakes. Now, it's a little harder to see, but there is also gentle troughing here uh, running from eastern Kentucky to off the South Carolina, Florida coast. So this is where you're going to get some kind of a low that's going to try to form. And then, of course, as the upper trough swings in from the west, that trough gets sort of pulled up and absorbed into it. So that's why we've got this battle. It's very hard to see the upper feature related to that system coming up from the south. It's more the system to the north, which is wrapped up, moves across western New York, and then lifts up into Canada. So once that goes by, we get into a northwest flow. So it does kind of suggest at least that Sunday will be a better day. And in fact, it probably will be a decent day through much of the eastern part of the United States, the way things are looking.
And warmer, too.
And warmer because you're behind it with sunshine and no wind off the ocean of any kind. Yeah, you're going to be warmer on Sunday. Probably mid to upper 70s, I would think, is certainly doable. Maybe even
Yeah.
75 to 80.
Could very well approach 80 degrees on Sunday, which is why I said for outdoor plans, if you have any plans outdoors and you can move things around, Sunday by far will be the much better of the 2 weekend days as opposed to Saturday where, what can I say about Saturday? I mean, it looks like, we may start out the day. Some of you may start out the day with a quickie shower or two. Then it will dry out a little bit or try to dry out. You'll say, okay, things are looking better now for whatever you want to do on it. And then all of a sudden, here comes the front end from the west, and bang, you're into a kind of a showery weather pattern, which may get more and more showery as we move toward the end of the day on Saturday. My sister has tickets to a Met game at Citi Field. I don't know what it is about baseball. All of a sudden, it seems like nobody has games on Saturday at 1 o'clock anymore. They're all at 4 o'clock. And, at least if they were 1 o'clock, the Mets might have a chance to get the game in. But if it's 4 o'clock, that only accentuates the potential for steady rain. I said to her, well, maybe if that happens, maybe they'll let you wait 3 or 4 hours like they did last weekend in Washington before they finally called it. It doesn't look like a good situation for Saturday. But again, Sunday looks like a better outdoor day.
Now, next week is kind of interesting because once this trough pulls out, we get some ridging that builds into the Great Lakes, but there's also this starts to happen a bit more as we get through the latter part of May and you move into June, where these troughs that move off the East Coast, the jet stream's trying to pull up into Canada slowly but surely as we advance our way toward the summer season. So sometimes the bottoms of those troughs get left behind, and that's sort of what's happening here as we move into the middle part of the week. There's a little system that's moving down from Canada to about Nova Scotia. The bottom of that trough just gets left in the southeast, and there's a ridge that sort of builds over the top of it. Now, if that's correct, I would say that there's a pretty good chance that in fact, maybe all of next week could wind up being dry. And then going into the Memorial Day weekend, if we suppose that, let's just take the model at face value here, and if you get some kind of lingering trough that's off the southeast coast that migrates back westward and then west-northwest and northwestward into, say, Tennessee or Kentucky, I mean, this to me says that at least Saturday and Sunday for the Memorial Day weekend would be pretty good. And then you have to ask yourself, does that upper low eventually lift out to the northeast, which it does, but the GFS wants to say that it doesn't happen until after the Memorial Day holiday weekend is over with. So you got to, at least right now, you have a fair chance that maybe the holiday weekend is going to be pretty good.
Well, keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope nothing changes. That and believe me, in my checkered weather career, I can remember more than a few occasions where I've made a promise to many people about a specific event or a specific weekend, and suddenly, without warning, something has come along to knock that down.
Yeah.
So
there is a surface low here on this run of the GFS that responds to that upper low and forms along the Florida coast and moves into South Carolina, and then kind of rides north and falls apart as it moves northward, so that by Sunday evening you've got maybe some scattered showers around, and even on Monday there's just some scattered stuff around. It's not until Tuesday and Wednesday that I'm sorry, it's not until Tuesday where they get more numerous. So look, if it winds up showering on a day, that to me doesn't count. Of course, there's always a chance that there could be a shower, when you get to this time of year. But uh, I don't think this is a setup where we get swallowed up by some sort of onshore flow. Where it's in the 50s and it's raw and rainy and
No.
drizzled. That doesn't look like that kind of setup here or down the road. And just before we get to that, let's just look at the Saturday, Friday night and Saturday. Of course, the high is going out in a place where we're getting wind off the ocean, and there's that little low that forms right along the North Carolina coast that just sort of gets absorbed by this cold front. Now the GFS seems to be timing it now a little bit more like the European is, where the rain comes up for Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning into the afternoon. This is Saturday morning, so Friday night, Saturday morning. And then the front comes through Saturday evening, but it doesn't really show very much in the way of showers with it. And then Sunday's much better. And then here you go for next week, where it really doesn't show much of anything in terms of rain for much of the East Coast until late in the week along the coastal Carolinas with that upper feature that we talked about just a little while ago.
Yes. Very, 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 very precise and very consistent explanation, of which it would be difficult, if impossible, for me
anything of any significance to that.
Okay.
Which means I have nothing to say.
Yeah, you're fooling around with your microphone, so I already know what you're up to.
Yes.
All right, so are you going to try and play this?
I will try, except I need different settings here. So why don't you just talk for a little bit, and I'll see whether or not this will work.
So, what Joe found on some place where they keep audio tracks of all sorts of things was back in 1978. I was doing some volunteer interning work for the National Weather Service in New York on that fateful the day before the beginnings of the blizzard of 78. I was 19 years old. I had a horrific Bronx accent. So when the evening forecast package came out, it was my voice on NOAA Weather Radio, announcing to the world, or at least announcing to the people in the New York City area on 162.55 megahertz. Right, Joe? Oh, he's playing with his audio, so he can't hear me. So anyway, it was my voice that did the evening broadcast, and what was significant about that was to announce the arrival of the blizzard of 78 and the various watches and warnings that were going to be going up with that. It was the first time that I ever heard that the Weather Service actually put up a forecast where they made a blanket statement of a foot or more of snow is likely. That made it stand out, particularly since
Can you hear me, by the way?
I hear you now.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm just explaining to everybody what this is. Have I chewed up enough time?
Now all I have to do is just go to the link, and then we can hear this amazing.
Oh, it's hideous. But yeah. The Bronx accent is awful. It also, I have to tell you, when I first heard that, I said, that doesn't even sound like me. I don't know, maybe it was playing at a higher speed?
It may have been at a faster speed, yeah. So hang on, let me just get this up here.
Attention, please. Attention. The National Weather Service, please. Attention.
Were you able to hear that?
Yeah, I was able to hear it.
So now you want me to allow this to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
All 3 minutes and 36 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. And this was on KW035, Sunday afternoon. I think it was February 5th, 1978?
That is correct.
Only 45 years ago. And the dulcet tones of Mr. Joe Cioffi on KW035 making the announcement of this major event, this major snow that was coming our way.
Attention, please. Attention. The National Weather Service is putting gale warnings in effect at 5 p.m. from Watch Hill, Rhode Island to Montauk Point to Manasquan, New Jersey, and on Long Island Sound and the Lower Hudson River and the New York Harbor for northeast winds
Harbor.
20 to 30 knots during tonight and to 30 to 40 knots with strong gusts during Monday. Repeat, gale warnings are in effect at 5 p.m. The National Weather Service in New York City has issued the following special weather statement at 4 p.m. Sunday, February 5th, 1978. For New York City, northern New Jersey, Long Island, and Rockland and Westchester counties, a heavy snow warning is in effect. Repeat, a heavy snow warning is in effect. For snow accumulating to a foot or more possible for late tonight and Monday. Also, gale warnings and coastal flood warnings are in effect. A low-pressure center is expected to develop along the East Coast tonight and move slowly northward toward our region during Monday, deepening into a major East Coast storm. Snow is expected to begin during the evening hours tonight and intensify after midnight and continue through the day Monday. The steady, prolonged period of snow will cause heavy accumulations, with the good possibility of a foot or more of snow before the snow finally tapers off around midnight on Monday. Northeast winds will increase tonight and tomorrow, reaching gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour or more during the day Monday. This will cause considerable blowing and drifting of snow during the storm, with near blizzard conditions at times. The strong winds will also bring abnormally high tides, with some flooding likely in low-lying coastal areas at times of high tide late tonight and Monday night. And the strong winds, high tides, and very rough seas will also result in local beach erosion in some shore areas. The storm has not developed as yet. Therefore, we are not able to be sure about the total amounts that might be expected, since the future path of this storm are still very uncertain. However, this prospective storm does have the potential of being one of the biggest snowstorms in New York City weather history. If it develops even close to its potential, it should match the snowstorm of last January 20th, where the total accumulation was 13.6 inches in Central Park. We repeat, a heavy snow warning for a foot or more of snow possible is in effect for late tonight and Monday. 4 o'clock reports from weather stations within a 2-hour drive of New York City show cloudy skies throughout, snowing at Scranton, Harrisburg, and Williamsport in Pennsylvania. The temperatures in the teens to low 20s in most places except in the mid and upper 20s in southern New Jersey and in southeastern Pennsylvania. Weather radar is still not detecting any precipitation echoes as yet, but it should begin picking up a few echoes from eastern Pennsylvania within the next hour or so. LaGuardia Field at 4 o'clock, the temperature is 22 or a -6 Celsius. The humidity is at 43%. The wind is northeast-northeast at 9 miles per hour. The pressure at sea level is 30, 31, and falling under a cloudy sky. The snow should begin in the New York City area within the next 3 to 5 hours.
Oh,
There
God.
you have it.
Oh, Lord. Well, I put the link up on the chat board for those of you. Save it for one of those times during the winter where you're praying for snow and there's no snow anywhere in sight.
I was like on the floor when I heard that 45 some odd years ago, because for the younger people who are listening, you never heard of a forecast for a foot or more of snow. I mean, usually what happened in those days was the National Weather Service, then the United, or maybe in the United States Weather Bureau even earlier, back in the mid or early 70s or 1960s, they put out a forecast for, let's say, 3 to 6 inches or 4 to 7 inches of snow. And then they would start from there.
I'd cut it down.
They'd up and up and up and up and up until finally end up with like 15 to 20. But you'd never, ever hear, back in those days, a forecast that said flat out a foot or more of snow. And by saying a foot or more of snow, that left the door wide open for a foot or more. What possibly could be more, quote unquote? And in this particular case, although the official accumulation was something like 17.7 inches for that particular storm at Central Park.
Yeah, well, they managed to find that much on car tops.
I know in Throgs Neck, where I lived, I measured 22.2 inches with that storm. That was an amazing storm. And the storm, I remember some forecasters, as the storm was just getting revved up, they were talking about, well, tomorrow we'll have partly sunny skies with a few leftover flares. No, that storm idled in neutral gear south and east of Montauk Point for almost 24 hours. So you woke up the next morning, Tuesday morning, it was still snowing. It was still coming down. It didn't finally end until like mid or late afternoon on Tuesday, and we didn't get into a clearing trend until Tuesday evening. That's why it was, 20 plus inches, mostly in the tri-state area. And in parts of Rhode Island, they had over 50 inches of snow. What an amazing storm. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the man who started it all 45 years ago on KW035, your friend and maybe mine, Joe Cioffi.
At what point during that broadcast did you wet your pants?
I said to you off air, I'll say it to you now. I said, after I heard you say all of that with the strong winds and the blizzard conditions and the foot or more of snow, my mother couldn't get the stain out of the pants. I ruined my pants with that.
Right. That's saying a lot for a 22-year-old at the time.
Yes.
Oh, God. Did you find this by accident, by the way?
You were at the Weather Service all through the day. You were supposed to come home that Sunday afternoon or whatever, and you were there until like
I didn't get home till after 11 o'clock.
Right. And when you came home...
Yeah, I don't want to tell that part of the story.
Oh, all right.
That's something that I shared with you that was deeply personal.
All right.
I don't want to tell that part of the story.
Right.
So Frank Scalera is actually, he says he's by Lafayette and Layton Avenues. I could have walked there from where I lived, because I lived on Country Club Road in the Bronx, and I was right near you, although I didn't know you at the
Layton
time.
Avenue in Lafayette. Hey, I was on Lafayette and Huntington, Frank.
Okay. So,
we were neighbors and we didn't even know it.
Well, and I was close enough, and I didn't meet you till a year later.
Right.
For the President's Day storm.
Right. CCNY alumnuses that we were.
Yes. Oh, good Lord. How did you stumble upon this? I mean, Mr. Rotary Telephone suddenly decided to play, to use his iPhone, and now he's apping everywhere.
Believe it or not, I saw a reference to somebody who I used to work for when he was sick. Walt Devanis, who at one time started at the Travelers Weather Service in Hartford, Connecticut, who in 1962 left Travelers to become the meteorologist at WICC in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And he was there for many, many, many years. And when he got sick or took a vacation, they called the company I was working for, a private weather forecasting company, and said, hey, Walt is out. Can you fill in for him? And not just me, but also Renata. That's how I met Renata at the same weather service. But, we used to fill in for Walt Devanis. And so this afternoon I said, whatever happened to Walt? Is he still around? My assumption is he may have gone to the happy hunting grounds, the happy meteorological grounds a while ago, because he was pretty old back then. And in typing his name, Googling his name, a number of different sites came up, and one of them was this site. And as soon as I played it, I said, "Oh my God, I know that voice."
Well, I downloaded the app and I registered on there. So they also had They had some Bob Harris stuff on there too, which
Bob Harris too.
I haven't played that yet. I didn't go back and play that yet. Jason Schaefer hitting super chat because he enjoyed my dulcet tones, and Leon Probitsky also hitting super chat tonight. Thanks to both of you for hitting the tip jar, by the way. Most appreciative. Yeah, it was. I'm just sort of sitting here as I'm approaching 64 and a half.
That was back in the day. I'll tell you how far off that was. Channel 2, WCBS, they had that Monday morning, the morning when the blizzard was just beginning, had a special news hour with Jim Jensen, the late, great Jim Jensen. And do you know who Jim Jensen's co-anchor partner was on that particular day, Joe?
Alvin.
No, John Tesh.
Oh, John Tesh, yes. That's
John
right.
Tesh, who now is into piano and music and whatever. But he was back then, I guess he was trying to become a news anchor. So it was Jim Jensen, John Tesh, and they had the entire CBS weather team. They had Alan Casper outside in the snow, and they had Joe Whitty inside. And this shows you how, how prehistoric it was. I remember Alan throwing it to Joe in the studio, and here's Joe now in front of this big plexiglass map because chroma key had not been perfected yet. And he says, "Thank you very much, Alan. Got the latest satellite picture." And he held a satellite picture from the fax machine that they had at the CBS Weather Center. They had to close in to show you the picture of the latest satellite photographs in, Alan. You got your TV out there.
That was considered high tech at the time.
Yeah. How far have we progressed in 45 years? And we were using the old LFM, the 2-dot LFM limited fine mesh, and the primitive equation model, the PE, and the baroclinic, which we often refer to as the bustotropic model because it never got anything right. But man, that brings back a lot of memories.
Well,
that storm of 19.
I'm glad it does. And it does for me too, of course. Those were those were the times where you were young and you were eager and everything was so exciting to you. That part of it's never really left me, I have to say. I still get the same thrill of waiting for the first flakes to fall here when I'm in the wintertime in the mountains, in the northeast Georgia mountains. I do the same thing that I used to always do. Bend the Venetian blinds, to look outside and know, I don't have any. There's one street light here, a very weak one at the bottom of the hill that I could see from my deck, and I use that sometimes. If I can see the flakes on that light, then I know, it's coming down at a decent clip. But yeah, I do. I still have a large degree of that excitement that I had as a 19-year-old, and that I don't care what you say. You act like an old curmudgeon, but I know you. You just, you got the bent Venetian blinds too.
Yeah, sometimes, especially now, since neither one of us have to be concerned about getting the phone call. Here you are, you're enjoying a weekend, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and you get a call either from the executive producer or the news director saying, "Oh, the big storm that everybody's talking about, we want you to come on in and tell us about it." Even though it won't happen until tomorrow, they still want you to come in on your break day or you get the call in the middle of the night or whatever. We don't have to worry about those things anymore. The only thing I have to worry about
I'm darn happy about that. I've been happy about that for years.
Right. Well, anyway, that was nice to go down memory lane again and share that with everybody.
I don't know about you, but I could relate to the snow lovers out there after hearing this. They probably can't wait for May, June, July, August, September, October to go to end and get us to the next winter, whatever that's going to bring.
Right. Well, we'll see. By the way, David Schwartz on the chat board asking me about the cosmic explosion. Yeah, that happened apparently. This thing that was first brought up over the weekend, 8 billion years ago. Now keep this in mind. The universe as we know it is 14 billion years old. The Big Bang occurred about 14 billion years. So apparently about 6 billion years into that, there apparently was some interaction with a black hole and some energy that, anyway, the two coalesced and created a tremendous cosmic explosion. And of course, if it happened, 6 billion is when the universe was only 6 billion years old. It has taken 8 billion years for the effects of that to have reached us. And it did recently, and we picked up on it using our radio telescopes. And some astronomers have said that cosmic event has resulted, next to the Big Bang itself, in the biggest cosmic explosion, the biggest disruption, if you will, of space that has ever been observed by us here on the Earth. Who knows what's out there, Joe, that is still heading in our direction? Some event that took place millions or billions of years ago and is still on its way to interact with us sometime down the road. But anyway, that's what that explosion was all about. That was first mentioned, back over the weekend.
I was just thinking, well, with the smoke back, this would be a good night for a geomagnetic storm.
Well, I've one of the things I'm going to hope to see is the Starlink trail or train of satellites. Couldn't see it last night because of the clouds and the schmutz. I said to everybody, well, this cold front will clear the schmutz out, and we'll have nice, clear skies for tonight, clear, starry skies. But we had blue skies, deep blue skies for much of the day today. And then, like I said, along about 5 o'clock, the schmutz, it's almost like one of those monster movies, like the giant behemoth and 20,000 fathoms under the sea and Gorgo, whatever. The return of the schmutz. The schmutz has returned. Whether or not I see anything when the Starlink passes by in the tri-state area at 9:20, who knows? And at this point, who cares?
Yes. David Rico's on the chat board to inform us we're both old. I got news for you, David. We both know that. Robert Russo hitting Super Chat. Thank you very much, Robert, for hitting the tip jar. And thanks tonight for putting up with all this.
Well, I think it's about time to close shop for tonight.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. It's just past 8:30. I guess we'll do a show tomorrow.
Why, you're not in the mood?
Well, you know what? I spent half the afternoon trying to get my headset back working, so we might as well take advantage of. Excuse me, now that it's working, we might as well take advantage of it.
You mull it over and let me know if
we'll have a show tomorrow.
Right. Okay.
If worse comes to worse, maybe we won't have one Sunday, but we'll see. All right, so thanks everybody for being here tonight. If you liked the Joe and Joe Weather Show, because we do all sorts of weird things sometimes after we've done our weather, hit the like button. We got 59 likes tonight, which is nice. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, make sure your notifications are turned on, because the Joe and Joe Weather Show is on Monday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by our affiliate Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing network on the planet. The referral link is tagged to the top of the chat board, and it's also on the descriptor to this video. So if you do decide to purchase this or any other weather merchandise, please make sure you use the coupon code Joe and Joe Weather Show so that you get
10% off.
And brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number for the best prices in town. The website is
OmniTrueValue.com. And once again, thank you to Jason Schaefer, Leon Probitsky, and Robert Russo. And they hit the tip jar tonight. Thank you for doing that, and we always appreciate it here at Joe and Joe.
All right. Nighty-night, everybody.
Night.